You're here, you made it. We are live. Hey, everybody, I'm Mark Wallace. This is Ali. You might remember us from our previous live class working with hard light in the studio. We were in Hive Studios, a gigantic studio here in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was all about working with really hard light. It was so much fun. And a lot of you said, man, that's great, but can you do this in a tiny studio? That's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about working with contrast in a tiny home studio. And when I say tiny home studio, this is tiny. In fact, we've got Skycam that we can go to, and you can see this is the whole thing. There is just not much room at all. We've got a couple other cameras. Let's go to camera 2 over here. You can see us over here. Hey! And then so you can see exactly what's happening. We have camera 3 over here. Hey, camera 3. And that will help us to understand the distances between the background. And Ali, look at this. So my arms are 6 feet. So yeah. That's 6 feet away. That's how small this is. There's just really not much room at all. It's going to be really a lot of fun. Okay, so the crew here is pretty fun. This is Ali. Ali has been, this is your number 2, second CreativeLive class. And so we're going to do some really cool contrast today. We're going to learn some principles. I'm going to put it into practice. We also have well, your boyfriend is off camera floating. He might float in once in a while. His name is Jason, an amazing artist who I believe is going to be on CreativeLive later. I don't even know if you knew that. So that's going to be really cool. And we have a host that is here. He is also going to be on CreativeLive. He's a fantastic photographer, a Fujifilm ambassador. His name is Chris Berry. Chris.
What's going on, everybody? It's Chris. Thank you so much for joining. I know we have a couple of people that have already said where they're joining. Welcome to our episode. Guys, we are streaming live. We'll have this live episode available for 24 hours. We will also have it available for purchase. You can purchase this episode, and you can also purchase an annual subscription for this episode and a lot of other episodes from CreativeLive. So check that link down below for more information. Also, please, guys, if you're out and you're enjoying this live, please share this with anybody in your community that would love a live show. It's going to be an amazing show, and we're super glad that you guys are here. Feel free to add a bunch of questions. Let us know what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying, what you want to see, and we will get to them. And thanks, guys. I'm stoked. Let's throw it back to Mark.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chris. Where are people joining from? I know that they were in the chat. People were joining from different places. I think there was somebody from Phoenix. Let us know where you're from. We're going to pop those up on the screen here. So let us know, Chris, where are people coming from? What do we have going on right now? So we got Germany. Oh, so that's the question is, who is from the farthest point on the earth? So right now we've got Michael from Germany. We have Alberta, Canada. So that's DV Ongrad. I added that. Dayton, Ohio is here. I know that we have people from Phoenix in here as well. Do we have anybody from Asia? Guatemala, ¿cómo estás, amigos? Lo siento en the Mundial de Copa. Argentina, we know. Anyway, well, we have a whole bunch of different things happening here today. It's really, really fun. And so let's dive in to this, the principles of what we're doing. So we're talking about working with contrast in a small studio. And so what we're going to do here is let's first understand what contrast is. Contrast is the difference between the lightest and darkest area in an image. And so let me just show you something here. I've got this black panel, and we have this white background over here. And if we look at this, we can sort of define what contrast is. So it's the difference between the darkest area and the brightest area in an image. And if those differences aren't really high, we have what's called low contrast. And we're specifically talking about luminosity today. We'll get into that a little bit later. But let me do this. So if I take this white background and I roll that up a little bit, zip-de-doo-dah, and now I put this black next to the gray. Well, if we just cropped in, the difference between this dark and this gray isn't a lot. So that's a lower contrast image. So really when we want really contrasty images, we want something that's black against something that's white. That's the highest contrast. Now there is something else called color contrast. And color contrast is part of color theory. We're going to be doing a class on color theory. It's amazing when you learn about the color wheel, the different types of color additive and subtractive and all those different types of things. In this class, we're focusing primarily on luminosity, not on color contrast. So if you're looking at color contrast, that would be something where you have things like a primary against a primary. It causes a lot of contrast. If you look on a color wheel, you take one side of the color wheel and you put it opposite the other side of the color wheel, you get color contrast. So that's the short version of color contrast. Today we're just talking about how do we control our light to get luminosity contrast, the difference between the lightest and darkest area. There's a problem when we're in a small studio, and that problem is that we have too much light bouncing around. There's a second little problem that we have in a studio, and that is instructors like me help beginner photographers learn how to create portraits using soft light with things like this, a nice 2x3 softbox. We do clamshell light, and what's happened is we have this generation of photographers that are creating these low contrast images. You don't have to be afraid of shadows. Shadows define depth. Shadows help us understand form. Shadows help us see things that are two-dimensional on paper or on a screen and give them a third dimension. So we're going to be playing with shadows today. And if you're just getting started, or if you've been shooting specifically portraits for a while, you've probably had this been just pounded into your brain, which is shoot with soft light, shoot with soft light, shoot with soft light. We're going to talk about the miss here in a second. But we want to be able to use harder light, more contrasty light to create beautiful looks. So how do we do that? Well, the solution to this is this. We just need to miss. We need to miss. So when we're talking about light, we're talking about not so much where light goes as much as where light does not go. We need to do both things. And so we can take soft light and put it in a location, but keep it from going other locations. And that's what we have to do in a small home studio. We really have to shape and control our light. One of my favorite books is called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And in that book, there's this crazy character who gets blasted into space and he goes all over the galaxy. And he discovers one day that he can fly, and he learns that by tripping and missing the ground. So there's this funny quote in the book, and it says this. It says, the Hitchhiker's Guide says that there's an art to flying, or rather a knack. The knack lies in learning how to throw yourself at the ground and miss. And so as funny as that is the same way we control light in a tiny home studio. We just have to throw our light at the wall and miss. We have to miss the ceiling. We have to miss the highly reflective floor. We have to miss those things and only have the light hit those things that we want. We have to shape that light, and then we're going to be flying in the studio with some beautiful light. Now, how do we miss those walls and ceilings and things? Well, I want you to write this down because we have 3 things that we're going to be doing today to learn how to not light something that we don't want to light. And so the first one of these things is this. We need to eliminate our ambient light. And so in a home studio, you probably have something like this. You have a curtain that's blocking. In fact, over here on camera 3, you can sort of see over here, we have this curtain that I've drawn to hide the back window. We also have things like in this studio here, we have lots of lights, video lights. In fact, I think on camera 3, over here again, you can see up in the corner, peeking out up there, that's one of the video lights. And so what we have to do is we have to figure out how to eliminate all of that light that's coming either from the sun or for some other things. Now, ideally, if I was in a home studio, I wouldn't have video lights turned on. We wouldn't be shooting a live show. And so the reason we do that, I'm just going to show you what it looks like in here if we turn those off. So we wouldn't really have anything to show you on YouTube or on CreativeLive. So we have to keep the video lights on so that you can actually see what we're doing. So we're going to have to figure out how to get rid of all of that ambient light. So we're going to do that. So step 1, remove all the ambient light. Step 2 is we're going to use the position of our light to our advantage. So where we place our light and where we put our camera in relationship to that light makes a huge difference in our contrast. We have flat light, contrasty light, backlight. So we're going to investigate how we do that. That's the second of our 3 tools to really miss light. And then the last thing is we're going to control the light with light modifiers. So back here on this table back here, maybe camera 3, we can show this. I have all kinds of different light modifiers, big and small, and flags and reflectors and grids. We're going to be talking about what those things do and how we can use those things to really control things. But the first thing we need to do is let's have Allie come back out. Allie, come on out here. And we are going to eliminate our ambient light. Are you ready for this? Okay, now to really demonstrate this, I'm going to put the white background down. Okay. And then we're shooting into Lightroom. We might switch over to Evoto a little bit later. But for now, just to keep things simple, we're just going to shoot into Lightroom. And that should work pretty well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up my tethering really fast. Normally I would have this set up in advance, but because the studio is so small, I didn't, because we couldn't walk around with all the cables. It's how small. Chris, are there people joining from around the world? I want to know if there are people popping in. Let's see where they're coming in from as I do this. We want to know who the farthest person away is coming from. So do we have new people showing up? Alberta, Canada. Well, I think we saw that. Do we have any new person? Ab Cisse is in the house. I don't know if you guys know who Ab is, but Ab is a legend. And honestly, if you want to know about hard light, he's the guy that taught me everything. Greg Gorman and Ab Cisse taught me all the stuff about. And I think Ab was there when we were doing stuff with, yeah, we have stories. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn my camera on. I'm going to go over here. We're going to let you look at the computer. And in the computer, when we have this up, in Lightroom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tethered capture. So I'm going to go to File, Tethered Capture, Start Tethered Capture. It's going to ask me some things. I've already filled that out. So now you can see here on this little bar, you can see that I have all of my settings for what I'm shooting. So right now, I am shooting in aperture priority mode. So it's in auto mode. So I'm going to zip over here, and I'm going to take a picture of Allie, and I'm going to make sure that there's no flash, nothing attached to the camera. It's just the camera. So Allie is just going to look straight at us. Bam. That's going to come in, and you can see clearly we have 2 wonky video lights creating 2 wonky shadows. The color is not great, so I'm going to hide that. And you can see at the upper right hand corner, here are our settings. Okay, so we're at ISO 100, f4 at 1/20th of a second. So what I need to do is I've got to figure out a way to eliminate the ambient light. What I do is I just underexpose the ambient light. So what I'm going to hop in here to do is I'm going to set my ISO as low as possible. So I have it at 100. I'm going to switch to manual mode. So I'm in manual mode. And then I'm going to take my shutter speed. It's at 200. In fact, I'll bring this up so you can see that. Yeah, so there you see my shutter speed is at 200, 250. We'll go to 250. So the reason I'm going to 250 is that's my sync speed on this camera. If you don't know what sync speed is, then check out my previous class on getting started with flash photography and working in the studio. We have some sync speed things. But basically, that's the fastest speed your shutter can be when you're using a flash. Any faster than that, you get issues. So we got 1/250, ISO 100, and then I'm going to take my aperture value, and we're going to try to shoot around f13. So let me just take a shot So I'm going to zip back around here. I'm looking at the meter in my camera. It says I'm underexposed. I'll take a picture. And when we look at the picture, there's nothing there. So all we did was we underexposed the ambient light, which essentially eliminated that light. So the only light that we're going to see is the light that comes from our flash. That's how that works. In fact, I'm going to take a test and see how far can we go. Can we go to F8? So we're going to go here. We're going to go to F8. We'll take a shot. I'm going to go to F10, take a shot, and F13, take a shot. Thank you. And let's take a look at those three images. So I'm just testing to see what works. So this is F13, totally black. This is, there we go. Yeah, F13, that's 4. Yeah, so we could even go down to F8 if we needed to with those settings. And there's just no ambient light hopping in. So how do we get light? Well, we use our flash. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this guy right here, and this is not set up to anything special. It's just a little softbox, and I'm doing this intentionally wrong so you can sort of see what's happening. Got my light meter here. What I need to do is I need to meter my light. So I'm going to make sure that my flash is all going here. Takes a couple seconds for my trigger to register. It's an old 26-year-old flash. Do we have any new people coming in? Okay, there it goes. There we go. Okay, I'm going to meter this. That's F7, so we want to meter it at least F8. So I'm going to go over here, meter this again. That's F9. So we're at F9. That's close. So let me just take a shot here. F9. Allie's looking fantastic. Take that shot. Okay, when we bring this in, we can see a couple of issues here. One, at the bottom there, I'll hide this bar. See that bar there? That's my shutter. So my sync speed is actually 200 on this camera, not 250. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. There we go. Yeah, so my sync speed is 200, not 250. And you can see I eliminated that. So if you want to know what sync speed is, there's a good illustration. This black bar is the shutter hitting. So that is the shutter there. Yeah, go ahead and show that. There we go. This black bar is the shutter because it's entering the frame and blocking the light. So slowing that down to F200 got rid of that. But notice we have some contrast on Allie's face there, but what we don't have is, it looks like my computer, there goes. What we don't have is a solid black background. These are a little bit blown out, it looks like. So we need to sort of start working with that. Now, let me show you one other thing. We are going to take this light and we are going to move it so that instead of being to the side, we're going to put it above you. And we're doing this because I want you to learn about the position of light. We have a little video that I'm going to show you about the position of light. And that's going to help you out, but I'm going to show it to you first. I think I used the head that's got issues. So we'll just have to work with it. We'll have to work with that. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. It's fun. All right, let me get my light meter here. Also, there are two other incredible photographers in the house as I'm speaking. So no pressure, but we have two amazing photographers here hanging out. Okay, so when we look at this, what I want you to see, we're going to compare these two images. So leave this up for a little bit. So this image, and we're going to do the second image next to it. Notice how the shadow changes. So when we change the position of our light, we had on the left-hand side, we had shadows that were on the opposite side of the flash. And with this light right here, we have shadows under the chin. So we're getting contrast. This is just vertical contrast, whereas this is horizontal contrast. Two different versions of contrast in these shots. In fact, let me get rid of this guy right here. So we can change things using the position of our light to control that light. So what we're going to do is, if you've watched some of my classes in the past, then you probably have seen this little animation, but it really puts things, puts a fine point on things in a short amount of time. So let me show you this animation about the position of light.
When we talk about the position of our light, it's always in relationship to the position of our camera. In this diagram, the camera is directly in front of our model. If we add a light behind the camera, it's called front light because the light is hitting the front of our model just like our camera. Both the camera and the light are in front of the model. We can change the direction of our light by moving it in relationship to our camera. This is called side light because the light has moved to the side of our model in relationship to our camera. In this scenario, the light is now 90 degrees away from our camera. When we move our light behind our model, we create what is known as backlight because the light is behind our model in relationship to our camera. We can also change the direction of our light by moving the position of our camera. In this setup, we can move our camera closer to our light, and the light that was backlight becomes side light because the position of our light in relationship to our camera has changed from 180 degrees to 90 degrees. If we continue moving our camera closer to the light, the side light becomes front light because the position of the light in relationship to the camera changes from 90 degrees to 0. Contrast is an important term to understand. Contrast is the difference between the darkest and lightest areas in a photograph. The greater the difference, the higher the contrast. We can change the contrast in our images by changing the direction of light. Let's take a look at the position of our lights again. In this setup, we have front light. Front light creates very low contrast photos because the light is the same on both sides of our model's face. There is no significant change from the brightest and darkest areas. Side light creates higher contrast photos because one side of our model is illuminated and the other side falls into darkness. There is a significant difference in the brightest and darkest areas of our subject. Backlight creates maximum contrast. The subject becomes a silhouette, and the difference between the brightest and darkest areas are at their greatest. In addition to changing contrast by moving our lights horizontally around our subject, we can move lights vertically as well. Here are examples of lights placed low, medium, and high in relationship to our camera.
Don't forget, we have vertical contrast and we have horizontal contrast. If we look at this screen here, I just did a quick little retouch, just balancing out the exposure and stuff in Lightroom. And we didn't plan this shot, but I love it. We have this vertical contrast. We have the shadows here coming in. Notice how this defines her cheek right there. Just blasting a lot of light can sometimes ruin a great portrait. And so what we don't want to do is, a lot of people will put it like a reflector underneath, and then we get that clamshell light. That would eliminate all those shadows that are defining the form of her face. If we started adding kicker lights, background lights, too much. One light. A lot of times it's all you need in a small home studio. You don't need 4 or 5 or 6 lights. One is going to do the trick most of the time, and we're going to do that. All right, Chris, I know that we just refreshed the chat because we weren't seeing anything, and then a bunch of stuff just popped in. What do we have?
We have quite a bit. So we have folks from Greensboro, we have Louisville, we have St. Charles, we have Woodstock. It's so cool to see everybody interacting in the chat. Guys, share the link, get more people in the community. Let's see what questions you guys have. We'll make sure we get to them as soon as we can, but keep having the conversations amongst yourselves, and we're getting to it. So thank you guys for being in the chat.
Who's the farthest person that we have away right now? It's
Oh my gosh, I think I saw South
Guatemala?
Africa.
Yeah, look over there in that chat. See,
Wow.
we have Guatemala, I know. Do we have anybody from Asia yet?
Not yet. Seattle, New York,
Pop that
Ontario.
Seattle up. Who's that? Who's from Seattle? Oh, John Cornicello. My gosh, you've been keeping this from me? John Cornicello, if you guys don't know, he was in the other one as well. He's a CreativeLive legend. John has been in, I don't know, 500, 1,000 CreativeLive classes. If you don't know, check out John. John, put your Instagram in the chat so people can see it. Seth Miranda and Daniel Norton, their studio that they work in right now was John Cornicello's originally. And John's been posting some pictures of that studio and all of his work in the 80s. It's mind-blowing how the circle of life just, there he is, Mr. Seth Miranda. How crazy that we have Seattle John, who worked in the same studio as Seth. And so this is a classic Pro Photo box. By the way, one of my friends bought a bunch of gear from me about 17 years ago, and then I just bought it back. So some of these are from the original Adorama TV videos from 2010 and 11. Florida, hey, Brittany, that's awesome. Okay, keep chatting. What we need from you are your questions and your comments. I want this to be interactive. And then, Chris, can you remind us again how do people get this class after it's done?
Absolutely. So guys, you have a couple different ways to access this class after the 24-hour period that it is run live. You can buy the class separately on its own, or you can also get an annual subscription through CreativeLive where you can see this class as well as the other classes that CreativeLive offers. So hit that link below and you guys can get more information on that. And we're going to go back to Mark and Allie.
All right, awesome. Allie's just saying there's all kinds of stuff here that we could be shooting. The carpet, the tile, different sides of the house. Yeah,
Like
come close so they can hear you.
And when you're talking about the ambient light and canceling it out, sometimes you have like tile that would be quite reflective, causing the light. And right now we're shooting in a spot where I think like a lot of light would also be diffused because we're on carpet.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and if you have things like, especially like we have Spanish tile here, cheap Spanish tile over in the kitchen area, that light's going to bounce right off that. If you have like white porcelain, that kind of stuff, white walls, that's really going to absorb light. One of the things you don't want to do in a small home studio is paint red, green, yellow on your studio walls because that's going to reflect back. But yes, absolutely. It's so much fun to have. We have right now, my house is full of very accomplished artists. And so it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Jason, we're talking about you. Okay, so we're going to talk about light shapers. And we're going to do this. I don't know if Jason's in the chat, but if you are, Jason, put your Instagram so people can know who we're talking about. It's pretty amazing stuff. Okay, so we're going to do some stuff. So Seth Miranda mentioned in the comments, that's one old Pro Photo box. Well, hold my beverage. We're using some old school lights today. And the reason for that is the way that those lights behave. And so I love, in fact, Chris, we're going to do the focus thing here. This is a Profoto D4 head. And you'll notice that this dome here is above. In fact, if I open this guy up here, don't try this at home, you see that there's the flash tube right there. And it actually is not flush with the surface of the light. So what happens with this guy is when you put a softbox or something in there, it goes in 360 degrees and really fills the softbox with light and does some other things we're going to show you when we're looking at things like our light shapers and modifiers and beauty dishes and things like that. So that's one flavor of light. The other flavor we have today is we have these guys. So the flat Profoto, these are the modern Profoto. This one's not, this is still an old one. But these guys have flat, this is a diffusion panel, so that the flash tube is inside here, it's recessed, but the light comes out of that at about an 80-degree angle, something like that, 75. And so what happened is, depending on the brand of light you're using, if you're using Electrum or Broncolor, if you're using Profoto or the new Profoto, if you're using the D4 head or a Pro head, if you're using any kind of like a flashpoint light, if you're using Godox, the head itself is going to make the light inside the modifier behave a little bit differently. And we can see that. We can see that with some of these different light modifiers. Now these are Profoto, because that's what I work with mostly. But let me just show you. This guy right here, this is an old school zoom reflector. And look at the textured surface here. What that is doing is, because of the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection, when the light from that tube that's going to be extended here hits this, it actually scatters the light. So it softens the light a little bit. So that's a little bit of a diffusion. But with the flat panel, that doesn't work the same. So some of these newer guys have these hard angles instead of that diffusion because of the way that it grabs the light. And you can see a newer one of these guys. So you can see that the way that these light modifiers are shaped that way based on the type of light that's going to be inside them. So it wants to scoop up the light, either fracture that light and scatter it everywhere, or focus the light. They do all kinds of things. So the insides of these reflectors matter. In fact, we're going to look at a couple of these big guys here. And you can see if I can show you that. So these are very similar shape. One's a little bit more parabolic than the other. But the insides of them, this one is going to scatter the light around. This is great for portraits and stuff. This has a surface that scatters the light in a different way. It's not just a scratchy thing. So, you know, a lot of these things, specifically Profoto modifiers, they can be really expensive. And the question is why? Well, they're not all created equal. And so the way that those lights bounce around really matter. We also have, I might have to walk off camera here for a second because I forgot to put it out. There it is. It's behind the camera. There it is. Okay, we got this guy. This is a soft light reflector, otherwise known as a beauty dish. Ab Cisse is on, I think, in the chat here. He just did an evaluation of, I think, 20 different beauty dishes. So coming in a couple months, I think on Adorama TV, he's going to show what's what with these guys. But the way these work, let me just show you something. If I put a beauty dish on this modifier, and it is flush right there, you can see the side. This is flush right here, and what's happening is the light's going to come out of this and it's going to hit around this and then come out. That's going to be a little bit different than if I put this same modifier on this head. So now if we look at that, see how that is sticking out? So light is coming from the side. So that's going to fill this a lot more evenly. And let me just see so we can show you that light modifiers really matter. So this, I'm going to have you stand to the side just for a second. We didn't plan on doing this. So I'm going to try to see if I can show you this. Okay. So if we look at the background, it's evenly illuminated. Just a nice even illumination. Okay, that's the head that's extended. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this out. I'll do this as fast as I possibly can. Switch this out. And I'm going to put that same modifier on a different kind of head. Same exact modifier. This is the flat head. And look at this. Can you see that? Yeah. You see we have a dark spot in the middle of that? We have a dark spot here because the light is illuminating, and you can't really see it, but it's acting more like a ring flash because it's not consistent light through the entire beauty dish. So the light that's hitting the inside of this is actually reflecting from this dish on the inside, which is not the same as the light that protrudes. Okay, that was a long explanation of why I'm using the different types of heads. But those different types of heads are going to fill up modifiers in different ways. And those lights are going to be shown on your subject. Either you might get hot spots, you might get shinier skin, you might get different shadow fall off. There are all kinds of things that can happen. So when you're buying your light modifiers, make sure that you match the modifier to the brand and the specific type of head that you're using. The other thing that we'll see during this is most of the modifiers we're using today are ProPhoto, which you can zoom in and out. So we're about to show you that. Most brands do not allow that. So I think Broncolor you can zoom. I think Godox has heads that allow you to put ProPhoto modifiers on them. But most things like an LM Chrome reflector, this guy right here, you buy the reflector and it's whatever degree, like this is a 50-degree reflector, or an 85-degree reflector, or a 20-degree reflector. And when it pops on, it's there. So you can't zoom it. It is what it is. And so there's just a lot of questions and comments when people ask, why do you use this really crazy expensive gear? It's because you can control the light much more precisely in spaces like this. Now, the other reason we're using these old ProPhoto heads is because if you want that kind of control, buy used stuff. So I just bought 3 ProPhoto heads and a pack and a bunch of modifiers used from a friend of mine. And I think it was about $1,500 for like 3 truckloads of stuff. You can get this stuff for a few $100s. So you can find it, you know, it's 26 years old, but you can find it on Adorama used, you can use it at B&H used, you can go to MVP, you can go to eBay. There's tons of used gear. Some of the older pro level used gear is still better than the newer, highly expensive gear. So just because something is old doesn't mean it's not useful. I'm saying that to myself. It's really awesome. Okay, thank you, Anna. That was a great explanation. I'm glad to do that. So now let's do this. We're going to have you hop into your chair for a second. And what I'm going to do is I just want to show you how we can use these modifiers to help miss the light. Now, we're going to be using a few different things. We're going to be using flags. These are flags. These are pretty small flags. So what flags do is they block light. In fact, let's go to camera 3. Zip over here to camera 3. And we have that light in the corner up here. If we wanted to block that light, I don't know if we can on this guy. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, I could put a flag over here, block that out. We'll go back here to camera 1. We can use these to keep light from our lens. We can do all kinds of stuff. So this, for example, look at, I'm blocking the light from the videos on my face. And now it's there. So you can control light using flags. These are pretty small flags, but you can get up to 8 foot or even bigger, 12 by 12. All kinds of flags. So these tiny ones are what we're going to use in the home studio. The other thing we're going to be using quite a bit are grids. So grids control how light comes out. So you can see that as I move this, if it's not on axis, it doesn't go through. See that? Yeah, there you go. So what we can do is we can take and put these grids, and this is a 5-degree grid. It's really, really specific. This guy right here is a 10-degree grid, pretty specific. We can put grids on our hard reflectors. we could put grids on softboxes. So that makes sure that the light is coming out but not hitting the side. So these grids and flags control where light falls, and it helps us miss. It helps us miss the ceiling, the floor, the wall, etc. So we're going to be using those kinds of things. So let me show you a couple of things here. So I'm going to put an old school reflector on this. The other thing about this zooming stuff, this isn't really supposed to be a class on light modifiers so much, but it's going to sort of be. When you think about light modifiers, you can almost think of them as, let me get this guy right here. You can almost think of them as different types of lenses. Because what we'll see, we focus that right there, that almost in focus. Sorry, there we go. This modifier right here is pretty good. But if I zoom it in and out, I can make the quantity of light hitting my subject almost double by doing this. So if this is an f4.5 lens, this is an f2.8. If this is zoomed in, it becomes a 2.8. This becomes a 1.2. Talking about just how much light is coming out of these two different things. So I'll show you that. But just by changing these, we can not only change the spread of the light, we can change the quantity, how, in Spanish I'm thinking the fuerte, the strength of the light. There we go. Sorry, I switched languages in my brain for a second. So here's how this works. Let me stick this light on here, this reflector on here. Turn that on. I'm going to turn this off. There we go. Yeah, let's going to keep that side. And I'm going to actually turn this light off as well. So remind me to turn that back on. There we go. Look at how this light is being spread on the background. So it's almost 180 degrees. If I zoom this, gets a little bit more. You can see how the light is changing, where it's focused by zooming this in and out. If I change this light to a newer reflector, it's a little bit deeper. You can see that now I can control that. It's pretty similar, but if I metered the light on this new reflector, it's going to be about twice as bright, which is crazy. If I get, this is called a magnum reflector. I stick this guy on here. Again, we can focus the light, make it really wide. All right. If we take this guy, and we put a grid on it, watch what happens. Let's stick a grid on that. Bam, bam, bam. Now I have like a shallow beam. So if I just move it out, we're not getting anything on the background. Just getting almost nothing. If I take this out, we get a bunch on the background. So that's how we're going to control our light. We're going to do that kind of stuff, or we can also take a flag, put a flag behind, and we can get rid of light on a background. So we can control light in all kinds of ways doing that. Okay, that was a lot of light modifier stuff. Chris, do we have any questions, comments, suggestions? Is Mr. Chris over there? I think so.
Yep, everything's going well. We got a lot of people still tuning in. Guys, keep all the comments coming and ask a few questions, and I'll go ahead and put them up on the screen for Mark to address right now.
All right, so we have 0 questions at this point. Is that right? I'm asking you, Chris.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay. Let us have the questions, because without questions, I don't know if I'm a hitting or missing. So I appreciate your comments. I saw that from Ab a second ago. That's really cool. Okay, so let's talk about combining the position of our light, eliminating the ambient light, using those light modifiers to really refine where the light goes. So we're going to put these together and start demonstrating these principles. Remember these 3 things: eliminate the ambient light, use the position of light, and then make sure that you use the right light modifier. So we want to start, Allie, I'm going to have you come on out. Oh, one other thing I didn't mention is this guy right here. So I'll hop over here. So this guy, this is called a subtraction panel. And on the opposite side, it's a reflector. It's just this cloth. This was made by Calumet or Calumet, depending on how you want to pronounce it. They don't make these anymore from that. I think they're out of business. But what's the name? Westcott just announced a brand new V-flat system. So you can find these used. The used ones, because they're rare, are really expensive. I just tried to pick a couple up, and they were like $600, which is a lot more than I paid originally for these. The Westcott stuff, I think, is about $400-ish, $350. Maybe in the chat you can let me know. Or you can just make your own. If you go to any art supply store, they have 4x8 sheets of styrofoam, and it comes in black, it comes in white. You can just take a roll of gaff tape, tape them together. And I know there's V-Flat World and all those companies saying, oh, look, we've solved world hunger and look at our new V-Flats. I just think it's totally overrated and absolutely not necessary. Go to your art supply store, use some tape, and go old school. You'll use them for years. When they break, you just go pay $50 and get a new one. You do not have to pay $500 for a V-Flat. I think it's ridiculous if you do, unless you get the stuff like this, like the Westcott stuff, because you can fold it up and you can throw it in a car, in a case, in a bag. You can fly around with it. So the soft ones I think are worth the money, but the ones that are hard, that are standard V-flats, my opinion only. In the chat, you can let me know what you think. I think it's a waste of money to spend that much money on a V-flat. Sorry, V-Flat World. Just go to art supply store and do that. I'm curious if I'm going to get beat up over that. But I think it's ridiculous to pay that much for a couple of styrofoam boards. Okay, I'm very opinionated on the V-flats, evidently. But we're going to use this to subtract light. So if you have a small home studio and you have walls that are close, light's going to be bouncing off that wall. So all you need is a subtraction panel, a black styrofoam board, whatever, and the light's going to hit that and just die. So it's not going to be popping into the other side. So we will be using this quite a bit to sort of control the light. The other thing that you can do is you can cheat. Don't use a white background if you want a dark background. Use black or use dark gray. So we're going to use dark gray. By the way, I'm having, these are called auto pulls. That's what I'm using. It's an auto pull system. And Manfrotto has them. These guys, I think, are Flashpoint. Is that right? No, they're Impact Vari pulls. So they're fantastic. So you can get, there's a bunch of different brands. So let's do it. We're going to create a high contrast black and white portrait. So I want you to come out about, and I'm going to put this so we can see the camera 3 so you can see distances. So we're going to have you come out, so this is about 4 feet, 3.5 feet from the wall, something like that. And then I'm going to be shooting from the side. And we are going to do this both with hard light and soft light, and it's going to be contrasty both times. So the first one we're going to do, this is harder light. We're going to use our Magnum reflector. So I'm going to put that up there. Put this up about like that. Now, because of the inverse square law, what we want to do is we want the light to be really close to our subject, because we know the light's going to fall off really rapidly. So the inverse square law, it talks about how light falls off. If you don't know the inverse square law, the short version of that is if you have something close to your light, the light's not going to travel behind it very far. And so you want to have very, very close light. We're going to start with no grid in here. So you can see there's no grid. And you're going to see that we're probably going to get some stuff on the background. And we're not going to use this this subtraction panel just yet, because I want you to be able to see what it's doing. So we're going to step by step start missing the background and stuff. This is going to be really bright. I'm sorry. It's going to be really, really, really bright. Can you close your eyes just for a second?
I signed up for this.
Yes, she agreed to this in advance. The reason it's so bright is this is a 1200 watt second light, not really built for tiny studios, but I have it at the lowest possible power. So it's still, so if that's 12, that's 6. So it's still at about 200 watt seconds of light. It's pretty bright. Okay. Pow. Oh, that can't possibly be right. Let me try that one more time. Yeah, that's way, it's F40. So that is not going to work. We have to get it down to at least F20. F22. Whew. Okay, so yeah, normally I'd be using like a F18. I'd be using a 500 watt second or 250 watt second light, something like that. So this is a little bit overkill. So what did I say, F18? F18, okay. So we're gonna try this out. I'm gonna go to F18 on my camera. And we're gonna see we have lots of light spill when we do this. We have not solved the issues yet. Okay, so look straight at that. There we go. Bammo. Well, we're sort of close. You're seeing stars? Yeah, seeing stars. Now I want this to be black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my develop module. We can see our specular highlights are just a little bit too much. So let's go over here. I think I have a black and white preset. Yeah, there we go. Use that. All right. And I'll hide this. But how cool is that? So we just created a very, very high contrast black and white image, and you don't see anything at all except Allie. That's cool. If we go back to this image here, it does have some issues. So specifically, the specular highlights are too bright, and so I need to soften those up a little bit. And also there's nothing defining the back of her head. And so I would change my modifier, but we're going to stick with this. Because we don't have anything behind her to show that her head is three-dimensional, I'm going to put a reflector behind you. We're going to shoot this the same thing. We're going to shoot it again and see if we can bounce some light in there. So here we go. Looking straight ahead. Beautiful. Pow. Now we're getting a trace. Look at that. On the back of her right here. So it looks like I need to move this even closer. So I'm going to get this as close as I can get it. So I don't have to add another light. I can just use my reflectors. Pow. Yeah, so that, it looks like the light is blocked by your head. So it's not, it's not hitting the back of your head. So I'd have to play with that a little bit. Okay. Are there questions as we go, Chris? Let me know. So anything happening out there in the chat world? Nope. Okay. He's shaking his head. So, but you have to put yourself on camera if you're going to be seen by the world. I'm trying to get him. Got to get my buddy to show up on camera. Okay. So let's change this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put on a grid really fast. All right. Okay. Grid there. I didn't even have the modeling light on because I didn't want to blind you. So there we go. And now I'm going to meter this one more time. The grid should take that down just a little bit. Not a lot, but it'll be a lot more specific light. So let me do that. F16. Can you see through that? Can you see directly into that light?
Yeah.
So, okay. So one of the tricks when you're using a grid, so I'm going to go to camera 1 here. If you see how you can't see the light itself, if I move this, so now you can see in there, if I move this, that is where you want, that's what you want your model to see. You don't want her to see this, or especially this. You want your subject to look until they can see straight in there. Then you know that the light is right where it needs to be. So we're going to have, try to, there, how's that? Better? Okay. It's burning you. Can you see? You're a meerkat, like, the sun. Can you see right in there?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm positioning it. I'm trusting my model to say where it is exactly. I'm going to meter that one more time. So we're at F18. Okay, we're at 18. Let's just see if we have a difference. I don't think we're going to see a huge difference, but we might. All right, look straight again. Kawam. We do have a big difference. So that's much more restricted. And so if I go in here and show these side by side, there we go. You can see how that narrowed that beam down to just this one very, very small portrait. For something like this, I would probably go in and crop that and make it something that's more horizontal, 16 by 9, something like that. In fact, let me just do that really fast. Pop this in here. We'll do 16 by 9. Bammo. Like that, bam, bam. Now we have our high contrast portraits. Let's throw that up there one more time. So we don't see anything from the background. We don't see anything from anything except for the light. Also look at the contrast we have underneath her chin there. That's pretty cool. Now let's go back and look at what will happen is if we change this. So from this hard light reflector, what I want to do is see if I can control those specular highlights. So when I'm saying specular highlights, let's look at this picture again. See how her skin, we have really, really hard reflections on her skin, how it's really shiny under her eye. This is really, really reflecting light. We've got some contrast there. We might want to have a much softer transition from this shadow to this highlight. So we don't want this to be so bright compared to this darkness because it's a little too much. And so we want it to be what we call less specular. And so to do that, I'm going to use soft light, but I'm also going to use the grid. So we're going to soften the light, but we're still going to make sure that it misses the background. So this is one of my favorite light modifiers. This is an OCF 2-foot octa. If you watched my little trip around the world, you know that this was in 56 countries, and I think I did probably 7 or 8 years of Adorama TV with this very specific octabox, this one. I love it, and it's not expensive. It is very affordable. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try to put this close. So take a step forward. There we go. So I'm going to get it as close as I can. And then I want to meter this one more time. So that's at F8. So adding that softbox and all the baffles really took that light down. So I know I want to be a little bit brighter than that. So I'm going to, sorry, I fried your face. So now we're at F11. Let's see how that works for us. So we're now at F11. And let's see how we do compared to our previous shot. Softboxes really consume a lot of light. And so there we go, F11, chin down just a little bit. There we go, bam. All right. Now, that's not the same shot. That's with the softbox. So if we look at that, we can see that the light is still specular, but it's a different, look at this transition, how the transition is a much softer transition between those. Now I could go, this is probably part of my, my develop here. So I probably could take the highlights down a little bit and do some things to make those a little less crazy. But those specular highlights are much, much more pleasing to me than the original shot. I could take this and use some film grain. Let's see if we can use that 16 by 9 to really pop this in and make it what I have in my head. So anytime you're shooting, you should always visualize the end state. So when I'm shooting this, I'm visualizing in my mind a really tight crop and a really high contrast image and something that's black and white. So let's take a look at that really quickly, just so we can see. This is what I had in mind. I love the texture of, we actually had you bring the denim specifically for these shots because of the way that the black and white conversion works on that. And let's convert and look at this side by side with that original image, just so you can sort of see those two side by side. Yeah, I like the softbox. The transitions are a little bit softer. We have that contrast. Okay, I know we're getting really into the weeds on some of this stuff, but what we want to do is we want to make sure, let's see if I can come back here and say, there we go. We want to make sure that we describe why you would use a softbox versus a standard reflector versus a beauty dish versus whatever. Why would you buy those different things? It really comes down to things like, how do you want the shade? How do you want the shadow area, the transition area, the specular highlights, the catch lights in the eyes? How do you want to control that light on the background? All of those things are determined by the modifier that you're using. So it's sort of important to get it right. Okay, Chris, let me know what's happening over there in the chat.
All right, so we have a question from John David 2284. He says, why black and white? Is it possible in color, or can high contrast and a small space only work for black and white?
Yeah, so can you pop that question up on screen just so I can see it and everybody at home can see it as well? So the answer to that has to do with something that Joseph Albers, he's an artist. So if you want to know a deep dive on this, search Joseph Albers, A-L-B-E-R-S. Take a look at his foundation. I think it's the Joseph and Annie Albers Foundation. When we're looking at light and shape and color and how those things all mix together, what we want to do, and this does dip in a little bit to color theory, the stuff that we're going to be talking about in the future, but the principle is that shape is the enemy of color. Things that are strong in shape tend to be monochromatic. So if you have things like this is a strong shape. It's round. Notice it's monochromatic. It's not black and white, it's monochromatic. It's all shades of one thing. If you have something like a garden hose or something like this has got a very strong shape to it. It's monochromatic. And so if you want to augment the shapes in your photos, then converting them to black and white helps that, because shape is the enemy of color. So if we go in here, and what we'll do, we actually have some stuff that we're going to be doing a little bit later on. We're going to be doing some soft light contrast, but I'm going to go in and let me add color to this. So what we'll do is we will change this to not adaptive color. My laptop is so old, anytime I do something that needs any kind of computing power, I get the scrolling wheel of death there. So let's see if I can get it to revive. All right, while we're waiting for that, please come back, computer. I hope it does come back. Please come back. Let's let it sit and think for a little bit. We're putting it in a timeout. But that's the answer to that question. And if my computer doesn't come back, I'll just reboot it. But right now it's okay. Here it is. Here it is. Come on back. Okay, so I'm going to take it back from adaptive color to Adobe Portrait. Okay, so there it is in color. And we'll put that up on the screen there. And those colors are a little wonky because of the way I developed it. So let me go in here and maybe change that white balance a little bit. We will take those highlights up. We'll open up, there we go, something like that. I'll probably take the saturation down just a hair. And there you go. So we do have a color portrait. Let's leave that up for just a second. We have a color portrait that is high contrast, but it's a subjective preference. I like my contrast punchy things to be black and white because of that principle of shape and color. But you can definitely do things like this. I do like to take things like this and desaturate them so they have a touch of color, but not a lot. Something maybe like that. But yeah, does that answer the question, Mr. Chris?
Looks good, but we have another one. Susan has a comment. She says, it's nice to see you using a flash and light meter. So many new photographers skip this. It's so much faster to get to the power you want with
Awesome.
one.
Can you pop those questions up on screen when you ask? They don't pop? Okay, I'm gonna go, just stick on this. I'm gonna come help you pop those. Because there's something wonky going on. We need those to be popping. We need them to be popping. Okay, let's see why they're not popping. They're not popping. Something wacky has gone on. So we really want these because people need to be able to see their stuff. All right, behind the scenes, I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it. There we go. Now you can pop them up. I don't know why that was there. We're all good. Wait, what?
You took miss to a literal.
We did. All right. Yeah. Now we have things popping up. Fantastic. Shoo-wee. Yeah. Okay. You can bring it back to me now, Chris. There we go. So yeah, the thing with the flash meter, we are going to be doing some TTL stuff with high contrast portraits. What happens is when you're looking at an image like this. In fact, let's put up this image here on the screen. This guy. The problem with something like this is that our built-in light meter is expecting this entire scene to average out to middle gray. And so what will happen is the background back here is going to be overexposed or her face will be underexposed. One of the two things. And so what will happen is trying to use TTL metering for this type of photography, it's really, really difficult. Now there are some cameras, like the new R cameras, Canon cameras, the new Nikons, etc., that have face priority metering. But in my experience, it's just a lot faster to use a light meter and nail that exposure right off the bat first time. Okay, any other questions, Chris?
Nope, let's push on.
Okay, we're gonna push on then. All right, so we did a high contrast portrait. What we wanna do now is we're gonna do some full body shots, and we're going to have you doing some big moves. And to do this, we're going to have to see if we can illuminate from about here to the top of your head with you what?
I was thinking of that one movie, big guy in a little coat, but big moves in a little space.
Big moves in a little space. Yeah, we want big moves in a little space. So we're going to have you out from the background. So to make sure that the light misses, we're using a dark background. We have a grid, but the question is, will this light illuminate all of you? And so I'm going to do this. Normally we have a modeling light. So you can see I can turn this modeling light on and off. And that helps us understand where the light is in relationship to our model. You can see that if I go, so let's leave it on front camera there for a second. If I do it too far, we get too much on the background. So I want to try to feather this light out a little bit. And one of the things, in fact, I don't know if John Cornicello is still in the chat. So John, and I think Ab was talking about this, that when you feather the light doesn't get softer, it gets harder. And so that was one of the fun posts I saw. I don't remember if it was Ab or John, one of those two was talking about it. I'm going to lower this down a little bit. Something like that. And we're going to see if we can get away with this 2-foot softbox on our 5'6" model.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got it right. Something like that. Okay, we're going to bring back the video light so you can see what we're doing. And now I'm going to have to meter this. So to meter this, I'm going to meter in a couple of different places. Notice that our light, let's go to Skycam. Notice that our light is to the side. We don't want to put it on the front because if we put it on the front or a 45, the light's going to hit the background. We're going to have too much light back here. We're not going to get that darkness that we want. We're going to lose our contrast. So we are going to start moving our light around, but we want to see if we can get a full body shot. So I'm going to meet her up here. I'm going to meet her right here. So basically, chin to waist. So that's 6'3". That's 9. So we have quite a bit of light fall off. So we have 9. We have 7. Yeah, so we're losing about a third stop, something like that. It's because of the grid, but we're gonna work with it. Because of the dynamic range of our camera, we're gonna be able to play with it. Okay, so what did I say? 9? Yeah. So I'm gonna adjust my aperture to 9, f9. And I'm gonna zip over here, and then what I want you to do is, yes, just like that. In fact, I'm going to shoot vertical, which I normally don't do. And I want you to cheat toward the light. So just a little bit. There you go. Excellent. Okay. So when we look at that shot, woohoo, we can get away with an entire head to toe shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you move a lot. Move the jacket. We want to get some of your abs, all that kind of good stuff. And we're going to just watch and see what we get as we're shooting. And so, yes, that's what we're doing. And what I can do, and I will show you. So this is me straight on. And then I'm going to move my camera to the side. So stay right there, same pose. I want to show you the two different ways that this light looks. So when we look at these side by side, one of them was shot straight on, one of them I was to the side. And so we're getting a little bit different light on our model. Also, we can have maybe a little bit more of a reflection there. We can play with that. So I'm going to play a little bit more. So are you ready?
Ready.
Ready, Freddie. We need some music, but copyright issues don't allow us to do it. Excellent. I'm going to do a horizontal, looking right at me. There you go. And then do a lot of playing with the jacket. So when you're working with your model, you want to constantly tell them what's working, what's not. Yes, I love that. Give me, yes, big, big poses. Turn your shoulders toward me. The thing you never, ever want to do, I'm going to show you. Let me show you what you should never, ever do when you're working with a model. Okay, I'm going to be a horrible photographer for a second. All right, so this is what you should never do. I'm going to show you, not tell you. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. She's absolutely lost. There's no ability for us to, like, yeah, I'm not communicating at all. This is telling me my hard drive is full. Is it full? You don't have to show this because I have to look at my hard drive to see. Is my hard drive full? It should not be full. Let me just check really fast. All right, this is a great time for any kind of...
So, Mark, John is in the chat.
Oh, John Cornicello's in.
John Cornicello's in the chat, and he says, yes, feathering makes the light smaller in one direction, making it harder.
Yes. John's got a book on lighting that explains all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, feathering light makes the light harder, not softer. If you've been taught that it's hard light or soft light, you've been taught wrong.
One quick addition and question that says, based on your experience, pop-up's not coming through again. But I can't. It's Gabriel, I guess his name is. Based on your experience, is there any effect of the model's makeup with high contrast photography? Is there anything
absolutely.
to advise makeup artists?
Yeah. Yeah, you can chime in. So let me really quickly. There is something that's called flashback. Is that what you're going to talk about? You talk about it.
Well, I mean, currently I have my makeup with a dewy finish. So when you're talking about the light bouncing on my face, it is definitely going to bounce a lot because it's not a matte finish.
Right.
Probably if we had a makeup artist in-house, we would probably put some powder on to kind of reduce the light bouncing off my face. But because we were doing high contrast imagery, we were talking about makeup, keeping it very simple, but I do have a very luminous.
Yes.
Base. So
Yeah, and there are different types of makeup. So you can get makeup that has like metallic elements, and it causes this thing called flashback. And what will happen is the specular highlights can get out of control, and also the color can shift in makeup. And so generally that's the kind of stuff that you get with makeup that's over the counter, inexpensive, you know, the makeup that high school kids are using. Not entirely. Also some expensive stuff. But when you hire a makeup artist, a lot of times they come in and they're charging, like Allison Penn, one of the best makeup artists in the world. She lives here in Phoenix. She's $800 to show up and do a look. And the reason for that, she's exceptionally talented and in high demand, but the brushes, the makeup, the bait, like all that stuff that she uses, really expensive stuff. And so, you know, you can have a makeup palette that's $1,000. It's
my makeup palette that I brought in is easily
$1,000. Yeah, $1,000 for makeup. But yeah, that's the big difference. Okay, Chris, any other questions?
Yeah, Mark, would you mind running that back one more time? That photographer Brittany missed the answer.
Allison Penn, Pynn, Allison Penn. She does Sports Illustrated. She does a lot of if the president came in, or vice president, or foreign dignitaries, or celebrities, she's in that realm. You've seen her work, you just didn't know it. So if you've seen any magazines in the last 20 years, there's a good chance that she's done the makeup on somebody that you've seen. Okay, anything else, Mr. Chris? You can put yourself on screen too when you talk. People want to see you.
No, that's it. The pop out is being a little wonky, so I'm going to be reading some of the questions that I have directly to Mark until it decides to act right today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not sure why it isn't wonky. Yes, what did you have to say?
when the other photographer was asking about makeup playing a part of it, maybe that's something to consider when you're planning your project is communicating with either the model or the makeup artist with like inspo styles of how you would like your makeup to finish and what you're going to be working with.
Yeah. So like when we were talking, I sent you some images. I think I sent you 15 or 20 images.
Yeah, like a good
It's like,
library book.
here you go. Here's a bunch. And then I also went and I looked at your portfolio and pulled images that from your own makeup and like do this. So you don't want to just say soft makeup or what is that? It's very subjective. So a picture goes $1,000.
You're just a boy. I'm just a girl.
Standing here taking a picture. I don't know. What's that movie? It's Notting Hill?
Something like that.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay, so we did the high contrast. We did full body. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try doing some soft light, still using contrast. And we also want to do a high key image. So high key is the exact opposite of what we've been doing. So we've been doing images that are dark, moody, low key. And so what we want to do here is we want to do the opposite. And so let's have you do, we're going to do the high key with this outfit. And then we will do the soft stuff with the sweatery goodness. Okay, so high key means very bright background, but it doesn't mean no contrast. So you can have high key images that are contrasty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off my softbox and I'm going to put on my beauty dish, which I put, where did I put my beauty dish? It's huge. How can I have missed? Did I put it back where I grabbed it from? It's like I just had it, right? I just had it. Where did I put it? Is it hiding somewhere? It's it's on the light. Thanks. It's on the light. Oh man, I haven't had enough Cheerios today. Okay. So, I'll put this guy on here. Now, the thing I love about this is it gives you soft light, but it's directional light. So we're going to get directional soft light. And let's see if this is going to have this head. Okay. Yeah, I have one head where the thread is a little bit wonky. Also, the keen-eyed photographer will see that I have rigged up my stand the wrong way. The weight should always be on the right so that it falls and tightens. However, this is a Matthews stand, and Matthews stands just don't do that. They will hold no matter which way you go. And there is another CreativeLive class from years ago where the photographer, I think it was John Gringo, I'm not sure who it was, he was showing like you should never do this, and he pulled on it to show that this will dismount, and what happened is the whole rod just bent and this knuckle never moved an inch. So in all my years of using Matthews gear, Matthews studio equipment, I have never ever had a light fall from the knuckle, but using Avenger stands, Kupo stands, and other brands, they fall all the time. So if you ask why I spend $250 on a light stand, because it never fails. Watch today, it's gonna fall. You don't want to have a 70-year-old woman getting knocked out. I don't know if you guys heard that, but okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to put this on axis. Let's go to camera 3 really fast so you can see. Yeah, so I want this to be right on axis. We're going to come forward just right there. That's good. So I'm trying to keep this pretty close, but because of the inverse square law, if this is close, this is going to fall into darkness a little bit. So what we might have to do is move this back a little bit so that the background brightens up, or we can take Allie and put you a little bit closer to the background. So right now I'm just going to guess, and this is why I'm using a light meter. So I can meter that, that's F18. And back here, it's F10. So that's a pretty big difference between here and here. Okay, if I want to know how big of a difference, I can do my averaging. That's 1.4 stops difference. What that means is that there is half as much light on the background as there is on Allie. Now I did that without taking a single picture, but let's prove it out. Let's see if that background is going to go into middle gray, which it will. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to go under here. What did I say that was? F18? F10. Is that right? No.
Back was 10.
Front was 18, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18. So let's go 18. So what we're looking is vertical contrast. That's what we want. We want light underneath the chin. I mean, shadows underneath the chin. Ooh, this is gonna convert here to a black and white. No, it's not. All right, that's cool. So let me develop this really fast. So I have not that. Not that. I have so many different presets here. I know, I don't use this computer much anymore, and so something about like that. So we got to fix the white balance here. Something like that. It's a little orangey. Something like that. Bring that back. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's a good starting point. So what we're looking for is this contrast. So look at the cheekbones. See the contrast here where we're shaping those cheekbones? The contrast underneath, we're getting that nice shadow. The shadow's to the side, which means my beauty dish is not centered correctly. And the background isn't high key enough. It looks a little bit like a passport photo right now. So let's have you take half a step back, half a step more. There you go, right there. All right, so we've moved a little bit away. I want to keep this up so that we get that vertical contrast. Let's see if I guessed correctly and we still have you at F18. We do. And now the background is F13. So we added a third stop to the background. So let's try that again. And this time we're going to go about right here. And so, yeah. So you can do this or whatever. So we've got, yep, there we go. There we go. And then chin down. So I want to do two things. Take a step to your left. There you go. Perfect. So I'm trying to make sure, if we go to the sky cam, we're trying to make sure that this and her face, they're all in alignment so that we have the shadow evenly across. And you can see what you're looking like there. Sort of cool, huh? And that can be. And so perfect. So what I want you to do is I want you to have like a sort of a neutral, like smoky expression. And then I want your chin to be just down a little bit. So eyes to me. Bam. Now I want you to have your chin up, looking almost, there you go. And then also eyes to me. I want to show you what we did with the contrast by having her move her head. So if we look at this first shot, notice we have a nice shadow under the chin. And this, we're just sort of opening the shadows. So just by moving her face, we're changing how those shadows and how her cheeks are being sculpted. So we want that. Also, the hair here is causing a shadow along her face, so we might want to have her put her hair back a little bit. But we're getting some cool stuff. I might even elevate this a little bit more to get more defined cheekbones, because we're not getting this line that we had earlier. So we're almost there. So we're going to do this just a tiny bit higher. No, you're good. You're so tall. All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to play with the jacket a little bit. So there we go, like that. And then chin down just a little bit more. Excellent. And then give me a couple of poses using that same, there you go. Yes. There we go. Exactly, exactly. There you go. Actually, look and close your eyes, but look down. There you go. Perfect. And then give me eyes closed. Okay. So we're just getting options here. Notice we're still getting, it's high key because we have a white background, but we're just getting different looks. This is just vertical contrast. Vertical contrast. I like that, but I think we might even do better with the softbox, a horizontal softbox. Chris, any questions popping in? I feel like we're just losing the audience participation, or maybe I'm just not hearing it. Let me know how things are hopping in.
We got Mama Lengua says, woohoo, another Mark Wallace class.
Woohoo. All right. The voice from God there is Chris. He's shy, evidently. He doesn't want to be on camera, but he'll pop on. He'll pop on. Okay, we're gonna do a similar thing, but now we're using this horizontal softbox. And just to keep things moving along, I'm going to not spend a ton of time getting this. Let's go to camera 3 so people can see sort of how this is positioned. Oh, you're ahead of me. Awesome. Voice of God. Yeah, so I'll have to shoot right underneath this, but I'm just positioning this. This kind of stuff I love. I don't know if it translates to video, but just making sure that you have everything positioned exactly right. I'm going to try to shoot this around F10. Now that we have the softbox, we might not need so much juice. So that's F14. F14 is close enough. Close enough for government work. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm going to scooch down just a little bit. Yeah, and then give me some strong poses. Maybe can you open and hold it at the bottom? Yeah, like that. Like that. And give me some facial expressions like yes, 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 yes. Hold that right there. All right, good. Oop, my computer is catching up. Moving too fast, using a computer that's too slow. Ooh, I like that. So the thing I love about this, look at all the contrasts, all the shadows that we're getting on the collarbone and neck. That is so cool. So we can go in, we can start doing some things with our post-crop vignette. Got to use my here he goes. So we could make this a little bit less high key if we wanted to. We could do some stuff like that. We could do all kinds of things, but I like where that's going. So tiny studio, but we still have some contrast. And let's just try that once with not a white background. I wish that I had a painted background for this. I think it would be cool. Yeah, excellent. Oh, my camera. Oh, my computer, what's going on? Let's try again. Yeah, the PC's going, I'm choking. Okay, now let's see if it's gonna. Here we go. Oh, yeah, much better. Much better on the dark background, I think. So yeah, we go here to here. So much better. Okay, Chris, will you show your face and let me know what's happening in the chat? I'm so
Yeah, well, the chat's still going on. I'm going to ask people to add some questions. Also, if you want to see this class as many times as you want over the next 24 hours, you got a great opportunity to do that. If you want to later have access to this class, you guys are welcome to purchase it. There's going to be links down below. If you're interested in even more, you can buy an annual subscription to CreativeLive and get tons of other classes. So please take advantage of that if you guys want to learn more and be a part of the community that we're growing here. Thank you, guys.
awesome. Good to see your face on camera. So what we're going to do now is we have Allie. She's going to change to a different outfit. And we're going to continue creating contrast using soft light. And so she's got this really amazing sweater that I saw on her Instagram. I'm like, please bring that. And so she did. And so what we want to do is we want to have contrast to the side. Man, that was fast.
I know.
Wow. Wow. Really fast. That's pretty cool. You're like Speedy Gonzalez. I can't believe it. You're faster than me. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have you step forward about a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, something like that. Good. Then I'm going to make this vertical. Here we go. There we go. Vertical. All right. So this is a small softbox, so it's 2 by 3. If we have enough people in the chat that want me to do it, I will try this with a 4 by 6 softbox to see if we can get, yeah, it's crazy. So if you want to see a 4 by 6 softbox in a tiny studio, then let me know. Hop forward just a little bit more.
We do have a comment from Brittany.
Brittany
asks, will you have 2 models in this class? I really struggle when having to direct light on 2 subjects at once. So maybe
put your stuff on the screen so we can see it, Chris.
That could be like a future.
There we go.
Maybe that could be a future class that you offer, Mark.
Okay, so 2 or more models. Yeah, so we can do that. In fact, Jason's over there. We might pull in Mr. Boyfriend Jason. So it definitely changes the dynamic of what kind of modifiers and how you work. So 2 models in a small studio, definitely doable, a little bit more difficult. So we're going to first do this soft light, and then that's a challenge to try to do 2 people. But we'll see if we can bring in life partner Jason and see how we can do it. You guys shoot together all the time, so you should be able to do it. Then I got to get a model release. And he doesn't even know he's going to be on TV. All right, so we're going to use the position of our light to go a little bit more in front. So let's see if we can do the sky cam there. So we're going to move to the front and to the side, and from cam 3, you might be able to see how far in front we are. There you go. Yeah, so we're in front. This is going to give us nice soft side light because it's a larger light source, but also it's pretty close. So let's see how this works. I'm going to turn this guy on. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So I'm using my my modeling light to see, and I can shut off this stuff so you can sort of see. By doing this, I can look to see where the light's going to fall. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Let's go. Can you go from the front camera? Let's see that. There you go. Yeah. So you can see that there's going to be perhaps an issue on the background, and I might have to lower this just a little bit. But we're going to get that nice soft side light. And so what I'm going to do here, I like that look, so we're going to leave that the way it is. So where do I meter the light? Well, this is a debate that Gavin Hoey and I have had for years. I model the light to the camera unless I specifically want to meter for the highlights. And in this situation, that's what I want to do. I just want to meter for the highlights and let the shadows fall where they may. So metering toward the camera, what's happening is the lumisphere is looking at the light coming from the light itself. It's looking at light coming from the ceiling, from the ground, from the reflector, or anything else, and it's averaging all of that. When I point it at the light instead of the camera, it's just looking at the highlights, the light coming from this, and it's ignoring everything else. It's not going to average that. And so it's about a third or a half stop depending on where you meter. But for me, that's f14. So let me shoot this at f14, and let's see if we can get a nice soft portrait. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. Bam. Now, here we go. This is going to pop up here, hopefully. Come on, come on. Let me try again. It didn't go into the camera, didn't go into the screen. There we go, beautiful. Okay, come on in, computer. Now I'm having the issues, Chris. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna unplug my camera, plug it back in, tell it, hey, we're tethered.
So while you're doing that, Patrick has a question and comment. Is the deflector an old light type of reflector, and can you still buy the diffusion like the silver diffusion material? He may be referring to the silver bounce.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're referring to. Just hit me in the comments. Let me know if that's something you're referring to, or are you talking about some other type of diffusion?
Yeah, so I think he's talking about this guy back here, this Calumet, this guy right here. So we touched base a little bit on that earlier, and you can buy the newer Westcott reflectors have that. So yeah, the one I have, they don't sell, the company's out of business, but you can get those from some different companies. Westcott is the place I'd go. They have a brand new V-flat system that I think has silver and black. All right, look at how soft this light is, and it's also contrasty. I can see you're smiling because you like it. So what we have here, though, is it's falling so far out of, it's so dark on one side. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a reflector on the opposite side. So maybe Skycam can show this. There we go. So I'm going to put this to one side. I might have to edit it out in Photoshop or Lightroom or Evoto. We'll see. But I need to try to bounce light. If you'll notice, I'm only using one light for all of these different portraits. So let's see if we can get that. Ooh, look. That is so nice and soft. I think our TV monitor is not calibrated the same as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Lightroom, and I'm going to just handle a couple of things here. So the highlights, I'm going to just pop them down just a little bit, pop open the shadows, bring in the blacks. I'm going to take my saturation down just a hair, and about like that. I think that's about all we need to do. That, I love that shot. So we have contrast to the side. So contrast doesn't have to be high, you know, just black and white and nothing at all. But if we look at this sweater, what we want to see is we want the shadows to show the texture on the sweater itself. Without those shadows, this sweater is not going to look warm and cozy. It's going to look flat. And so, in fact, let me shoot one more here with you, maybe doing this, because I want to show the collar a little bit. I'm going to pop this in. There we go, beautiful. And then I want you to cheat just a little bit toward the light. Just turn your shoulders a little bit toward the light. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so look at how we can change the contrast just by having her turn. Just by having her turn, we're changing things a little bit there. And also by the pose. So when we look at this first pose here, we have a lot more contrast because we have more roughly folds and stuff in the shadows. So we're able to change contrast with the pose, with the lighting, with all kinds of things. But I love that. Let's see if we can do that one more time where you try to get as much and face toward me, as much rumples in the sweater as possible. And I'm even going to add contrast by moving the reflector back just a little bit. So Chris, let's make sure they could see this. So on the, there we go, on Skycam if possible. Yeah, so what we want to do is we're taking the reflector from here. We're just moving it back. So about a foot. That's going to add shadows on this side of her body. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yes. So I want you to feel the freeze of Alaska, something like, oh yeah. Yes. So we're getting some emotion in this image. And then just for kicks, let's see what happens when we make the background light gray. So by using a white background instead of a gray background, we can change that background. Yes. I love that. Can you? Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so I like the darker background better. But you can see we have maybe something in the middle would be great. Okay. Do you think Jason would be a model? Yeah. Can you ask him? And make sure it's good with him. Okay, so I'm going to turn back on these lights here. All right. So the thing is, Jason is Allie's partner, and he's an amazing photographer. And he just dropped by today and did not know he was going to be on camera at all. Are you cool with being on camera? Yeah. It's Jason, everybody. Down. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Allie, we're going to have you on the side toward the light. And we're going to have Jason on the side. In fact, let's have you behind. Yeah, so you're like behind her. Yeah, and maybe over this way, like that. Yeah, okay, so now there's an issue with this pose. And if I light this way, what's going to happen is Allie's face is going to block Jason's face, and he's going to be a Mr. Shadow. And let's just prove that out. So we're going to have to change the contrast a little bit and move this softbox a little bit. Now this is fun because I never shoot couples, never. This, in fact, you guys are the first couple I've probably shot in 20 years.
Yeah, no.
Since the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, since open.
So this is like my first. Okay, we're going to do this at f13. And based on what I see right now, we have issues in this shot. So like actually put your arms around it like, yes, like you actually love each other. Okay, we're going to have exactly what I described, a really bad photo. Okay, that, in fact, let's get rid of this background here. So if you're seeing this in your images in your home studio, you might be tempted, let's add a second light, let's do a bunch of things. The issue is the position of the light. So what we can do is we can flip this to the side, so we have something a little bit more horizontal. And I'm just going to move this around a little bit. We're going to go with a little bit more vertical contrast. We're going to try to get some contrast, but also not lose, you know, we want you in the picture. You're just the extra. You're just there. Okay, so now let me meter that. And we have a couple more lighting setups, so we'll do this pretty quickly. So that's 9. The other thing you can do in this situation is use your modeling light. So if I turn that off and turn my modeling light on, I can start looking. Let's go to camera 1 really fast. And I can start looking to see, like, is this on track? Is this not on track? And I can see both faces now. So we should be able to do something with that. So that was F9. Let's see. I have not had a photo challenge like this in a while. I'm a little nervous. I haven't been able, so much pressure. Okay. So in fact, I'm going to do this vertically. Beautiful. Okay, now look. 2 people in the same image. We still have contrast. So, and I think I cropped this in the camera. That's better. It looks a little bit like Olin Mills to me. You know, I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather do environmental portraits. But you can see that changing the position of light, we still have some contrast, and we get both people in that. So we would start there. And for this, really, because I didn't plan to do 2 people, I don't have as many lighting modifiers and things ready to go for that. But that's the short answer to your question. So Chris, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that was good. I think that was a nice curveball, because that was an unplanned audible that someone in the chat commented. So that's nice. Thank you.
I mean, in all honesty, if we look at this photo right here, that's a Facebook photo or a MySpace photo. I don't think. Or JCPenney, maybe. Are you taking it up to JCPenney? Definitely, this is not my style. So what I would do is I would style this much differently. So probably we're going to be on location. We're going to bring in, like, you know, your outfits are going to match. You're going to have, you know, a lot more planning than just, hey, Jason, come in from the living room. So, but we got the point of moving that around. Okay, we have time for more questions before we zip to the next. Do people want to see the 4x6? I don't think we had an answer to that. All right, Chris is looking through that. So, Chris, when you know, let me know so that we know if we need to move on or if we do our wardrobe change. So what are you seeing over there?
I think a wardrobe change is great. A lot of positive feedback. We got Brittany also saying thank you so much for the extra couples portrait and using the softbox and turning it horizontally so you can get more of a wrap on Jason's face. So that was good. And loving the sky cam.
Loving the sky cam. You know what? I do want to show something because somebody asked about moving things horizontally. So before we go and swap outfits, I want to show you guys something. So what I'm going to do here, this is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm going to take this guy. This is a 2x3 softbox. So we are going to double the size of this softbox. So we're going to go with a 4x6. And I want to show you something that I don't remember who I learned this from. It might have been Ab, I don't know. But there is a way to control light with a large softbox that I absolutely love. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change my head, because this one I realize is the one that's got a little bit of a wonky tightener, a fastener. So I'm going to put on a different one. And then we're going to put on a large softbox.
Mark, Brittany says awesome. She thinks turning the modifier sideways was brilliant, and she definitely wants to see that 4x6.
She wants to see the 4x6. Okay,
Indeed.
4x6 coming up. 4x6 coming up. Could you hold this for me? Thank you. And then can you just hold on really tight? There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this guy off. So this is so big, I don't want to have any kind of a arm on it. And then, yeah, watch your toes. Got it, thank you. The only reason I'm changing this head is the one we had on there, the little knuckle that holds it still. One of them has a little bit of a struggle tightening all the way. And out of the 6 heads I got, I just randomly grabbed the one that doesn't tighten super tight. So I'm swapping that out. What we're going to do is show you the value of a really nice speed ring, as well as how you can spin a giant softbox to create some really cool looks. Okay, put that about right there. Also, one of the reasons I love having this head that's extruded like that, because it fills the softbox up all the way up. It really makes a nice even light edge to edge. All right, so this is a click speed ring. So to build this out, it's very, very fast. Watch this, watch your toe. All you have to do is go, hey, click, click, bam. Okay. Now we have, oh no, I broke my softbox. I broke it. No. Okay, catastrophic failure is happening right now. No. All right, well, darn it. What I'm going to have to do is not do this demo because I just punctured my softbox. This softbox, this makes me so sad because I've had this softbox now for 27 years and I just ripped it. Okay, all is not lost.
Lucky for Mark, there is a new 4x6 out, so you won't be shedding tears for too much longer.
Who's going to buy me the new one? Okay. Duct tape, little gaff tape, that'll be fine. Yeah, so what happened is these are like tent poles, and when I accidentally separated that and it went through the side. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Not as bad as I thought. Oof. Also, this is where I wish I had a ceiling that was a little bit taller than this. Bam. Okay. You can touch the sky. All right. Just a small, just a flesh wound. But you know when you've had something for half your life and then you all of a sudden damage it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do, let's go to camera 3. What I'm going to do, let me move this, thank you. Yeah, just stick it against the back, it doesn't matter. What we're going to do is this is very big. This is 6 feet, 6 feet wide. We're going to have you stand here, right there. So what will happen is the light from the front is going to wrap around. So in fact, can you come forward about, can I move you? Mm-hmm. Okay, so about right there. So what this part of the softbox is going to act like a hair light. And then this part of the softbox is going to wrap around and act like a normal softbox. So by moving this, we're going to get soft light that wraps around. I know we said we're going to do contrast, but people asked, and I can't deny them. So this barely fits in my studio. That's all right. Okay, so I'm metering this to the light. That's F9. F9. And then after this, we're going to do the costume change, and we're going to do our big finale with the silver screen. Okay, and I'm going to move that reflector really fast, just so it's not in the shot. All right, this is great. This also works with, if you use this as ambient light, F9, bam. Oof. Look at that. Nice, soft light. Now, go to the Skycam just a second. We're going to make one tweak. I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to move this a little bit more at an angle. Move it forward just a little bit. I'll have to shoot and peek in there, but that's going to help me. Yeah, it's hard to even see. Oh man, the whole top ripped. Did it? No, it didn't. It looks like it did, but it did not. Now I'm nervous. So I don't know if you can see how far I'm actually touching the softbox. So maybe camera 3 can show. I am touching this. And so now, let's try that. I'm going to do a vertical shot with one giant softbox. Look at how this is just beautiful, soft side light. I love it. I love that. Yeah, you can get just beautiful light. You don't need a bunch of stuff. And if we just needed a little bit of bounce, I can stick this reflector over there so we can see from Skycam how I've got this popping in just a little bit. That should fill in the other side if we need it. And then, yes, so I don't have enough room to get you more than I want. I'm going to do two different things. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, I think I got a little bit of that. Yeah, this is just nice, contrasty, soft light. Soft, contrasty. Okay, go change. Any questions about this? Any comments, Mr. Chris?
So we have a comment from Brittany. She's really appreciative of the little pivots that we made. She says the work is beautiful. Also, 27 years on that softbox. It was a good run, Seth says. Good run. It was a good run, Mark.
It's a good run. I'm not giving up. It's a flesh wound. It's just a flesh wound.
But a scratch. What is that? Very Shakespearean, Mercutio's.
Yeah,
But a scratch.
Holy Grail, right? It's just a scratch. Yeah. 27 years. I think.
Solid run.
Maybe this. I know one of these soft boxes. No, it's my light motive. I have one that Ab sent me to do a demo years ago for Profoto, and I never sent it back. I think I have one of Ab Cisse's soft boxes, and I've had it for, I think, 16 years.
Susan says, I always use a light meter.
Light meters are fantastic. You don't have to always use a light meter. I use one about 80 to 90% of the time around there. It really depends on the kind of stuff that you're doing. So, in fact, just to prove it out, we're going to go away from the old school D4 that I absolutely love. Highly recommend them. You can get them used, and they won't break the bank. They're just a few $100s. And when they first came out, they were top of the line, and they were thousands of dollars. And, you know, the drawback is replacement parts are hard to find if they break one. The flash duration is a little slow. Other than that, there's no TTL. That's another thing. It's all manual, and you have to know a little bit about stops, but it's great. So we're going to switch to this. This is a B1, a little bit newer, but still, this is a light that you could get used, not that expensive. They don't make these anymore, so I'm using all old used equipment. And I'm doing that to prove to you that you can use gear that doesn't break the bank, but still very, very high quality gear. So, you know, it's like buying a Rolls Royce that's 20 years old. It's old, but it's still a Rolls Royce. So that's going to work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have, you may have seen me do one of this thing before. We have a window screen. This is just a normal window screen. For you Europeans watching, we have this stuff that we put on our windows so bugs don't fly in. That's what this is. And so I know when I was doing this in London with Gavin, it took us quite a while to find a window screen, but you can get this at Home Depot. This is a small one. I've been doing this for about 15 years now. The thing is, these come pristine. You want to squish it up, crunch it, get as many different crinks in it as possible. Also, make sure your model knows that the edges, very, very scratchy. They will make you bleed sometimes, but it's like a scratch from a, an animal or something. Not that bad. But what we're going to do is, go
Hey,
ahead,
Mark,
Chris.
real quick before you push on, in referencing the 4x6, Michael has a question. He says, "What's the difference between using a 7-foot umbrella with diffusion, or using that 4x6 softbox?"
Well, with an umbrella, the light, and especially with diffusion, a normal umbrella light is just flying everywhere. Diffusion just makes the light fly in more directions. It diffuses it literally. And so what you get is just very soft light flying out everywhere. It's very difficult to control the direction of the light coming from an umbrella compared to a softbox. So a softbox, because it's shooting through a diffusion panel and a front panel and coming out, you can tell it where to go, as opposed to an umbrella is reflecting off an umbrella and just bouncing out everywhere. So you have a lot more control, much finer control with the softbox. And the other thing with the softbox is you can attach a grid to that softbox, and you can change the behavior of the light, as opposed to an umbrella with a diffusion panel. That light's just going everywhere. So those diffusion panels and umbrella combos are made specifically so you get high key soft light. It can be directional, specifically if you have something that's a little bit more parabolic. Those big 7-foot Westcotts, I think I have some back here. They do, and the deep umbrellas, the deep silvers, etc. You can get directional light from them, but it's not as controlled and precise as a softbox is. So the softbox, much more control, lot more expensive, and sometimes you just don't need a softbox. So it depends on the tool that you need. I do have a class called Understanding Light and Light Modifiers, where I go through almost every single light modifier known to man and compare it and show all that stuff. It's on CreativeLive if you want to check that out, but it does a lot of in-depth comparisons between umbrellas, diffusion panels, softboxes, grids, hard light reflectors, etc. And I think it's 6 hours or so. It's pretty deep. Okay, we're going to have Allie come out. Here you go. You're going to wear this sort of as a dress. Normally we shoot, I've done this grid series for 15, 16 years. Normally I shoot it nude because the lines of the clothes mess up the lines of this fluid look. Obviously we can't do that, so we have a flesh tone bodysuit it's going to get us close. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a pretty close headshot. And to do that, what I'm doing is I'm going to use this guy. So soft light, but very directional. And the key to this is we want the light to be passing from the side and not from the front. In fact, I'll see if this shows up if I do this. See how this side light changes how this looks? So look at how this side light that we have is making this very watery, really cool. But as soon as I turn on the front light, it just goes back to being a window screen. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get nice, soft side light. And also I want to see how TTL works with this new B1, this new 15-year-old B1. So I'm going to put this on here. Now this is an OCF softbox. It's made for the flat front ProPhoto off-camera flashes like this guy. And so these two go together. I use this with my B1 head. And then to do this, I need to use a different transmitter. So this is a ProPhoto Air transmitter. And let's see, there he goes. All right, so I think you saw in the last hard light class, this was giving us issues. We replaced the batteries, we've done all that stuff. I'm still getting a few issues with it. So we're gonna try. Okay, so to make this work, I'm gonna turn on my modeling light. I'm gonna raise this up. I'm gonna turn off the video lights just so you can see what's going on. Take a step forward if you would. And that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna try to move this light backwards and forwards like this on the side to try to capture more. Let's go to the front camera if we can. To try to capture more or less. You can see how that light passing through the window screen changes how that light looks on the reflections there. In fact, I'm even going to shut off this other video light over here so you can really see it. You can really see what's happening here. As we move this, I can change how that looks. And so what we want you to do, let's go to the, yeah, you're on that. We're going to have this, we're going to try to wrap it around you a little bit. I'm going to try to create some really dramatic shapes. I don't want to scratch you.
You're good.
And then you can even scoosh this stuff. I'm going to try to make it look. I'm going to keep your hand there. Oh, there we go. So you hold that, and I'm going to bring it to you. Yeah, and you guys can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to turn this video lights back on. So we're trying stuff out. We want it to maybe look like some wind is going. So sometimes I'll have, like off camera, somebody holding. But we're just going to, I'm going to try to not scratch you. By the way, I asked before if I could touch her face and head and stuff.
Very important.
So very important. So yeah, just don't go touching models willy-nilly. That is totally not okay. We did ask, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just confirming. I'm like, did I this time? Yeah. I'm like, I did ask this time, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just looking. Normally I would do this in the dark, and I'm shooting TTL just to see what this looks like. And right out of the box, bam, we're getting some cool stuff here. So with this, the post-production is important. And you can see why normally I would shoot these nude, because you can bunch stuff up to hide body parts. But for me, like this line here messes up the illusion of this fluid motion. But you know, we're on YouTube and that's the way it is. So what I'm going to do, let me show you how I normally do the post on this. So normally I would not do clarity, but on these, clarity up, texture up, blacks sort of down, shadows open, and saturation down like that. And you can see that now we're getting this very interesting look. Now what's happening is this little tail down here is falling into darkness. If we come back to camera 1 really quickly, what we can see is that, and even camera 3, let's go to camera 3, that this, if it's too far behind, the light is going in front. So you sometimes have to play with stuff to try to get it to look as well as possible. And I'm also going to come in here and try to scoosh this in a little bit. Tell me if I'm hurting you.
Nope, you're good.
I'm going to try to move this forward just a little bit more. You all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so yes. All right, I'm going to shoot this again. See what we get. Really going to get tight. Yes, 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 yes. Shawam. Ha ha. Now we're getting more of that. I'm going to move this. So move this hand out. Yeah, there you go. This is almost like sculpting. This is so... There we go. And then can you turn, there you go, like that. And I'm looking at this kind of stuff. And here we go. I'm shooting really, really tight with these. Ooh, that's cool. So this, the highlights on this look a little bit too much for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those highlights down, and you can see how that sort of shifts. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
So Mark, one quick comment that I'm seeing in the chat is a question about the height, or a comment about the height of the softbox. Is it, how do you determine where the softbox is relative to the model as far as the height of the softbox?
Well, we just had a sneaky visit from Jason behind you. I like that. So if you look at this image here that we have on the screen, we want the light to be right in this area. So let's go back to camera 3 really quickly. And you can see that the height, the center of this is right on her nose. And so what I'm looking at, I'll make it too high, and I'll make it too low, just so you can see. So too high, what's going to happen is the cool stuff on the bottom is going to fall out. So let's shoot that really quickly. Wham. Actually, that looked pretty good. So it didn't fall out. It came in and looked pretty darn good. But if you, let me even go a little bit higher. Try that. I love this silver screen stuff. It's just fun. It is fun. So I'm just getting away with everything with this. And it might be because we have, I'm shooting TTL, we might be getting too much, but you can see how the light shifts a little bit. Come on, there we go. Yeah. Let me show you a little bit too low. I don't know if I can go low enough.
A comment someone else made about the difference in umbrellas and softboxes is the catch lights. And that's one thing that I noticed when you were changing, is one of the comments about the height of the softbox. When your softbox was higher, you begin to kind of lose a little bit of life in the eyes. So at the height that Mark had it to begin with, you had a delicate balance of the catch lights in the eyes, the material being lit, and the model being lit. So I hope that kind of helps.
Yes, and that's a fantastic point. So let's look. This is the light really high. We just have a kiss of a catch light, as opposed to this where it was much lower, and you can clearly see. And you know, the color, the hazel color, hazel, is that the right color? Yeah. I mean, how amazing is this? It looks like the Afghanistan girl eyeballs. You know, we have all that kind of stuff. And I love this silver screen because you're able to do a lot with it. Now, ideally, if you're doing a full body, we would have a much larger screen, but I want to try a little bit more. So what we're going to do, I'm going to help you so you don't get scratched, and don't move too fast because your hair is caught. There you go. Okay, and there you go. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to try to wear this like a dress. Yeah, like it's coming across. And then we'll see if we can get sort of this really cool looking, like almost like a water splash. And then I'm going to help you squinch. So can you hold this squinched there? And then we're going to try to bring that out. Tell me if I'm scratching you. A lot of times when I'm doing this, by the way, I have A-clamps. I have all kinds of little attachment things and wires and things to try to get that to work. All right, now let's try, I'm going to move this light a little bit farther away. Okay. Yeah, we might have to, I see a change already that I want to make. I see a change, and that is that the dress, quote unquote dress, is too low. So what I'm going to do, unhook your hair. Let's unhook, yeah. I'm going to try to get this to be higher. I don't know if we can do it. We're going to try. So normally, like, I would actually clamp this on your head, but we don't have the clamps.
Here.
Yes. There we go. Because we want this to have motion. We want it to look like water is coming across. We want it to look something spectacular. Okay, let's try that. Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Yes. It's coming in, it's coming in. And we have to do some editing here. I'm shooting this in TTL, and this is the issue with TTL. Look at her, she's totally overexposed on her face. And it's trying to balance this out. So I would have to go in on my TTL and tell it to take the exposure down. We'd have to be doing some things to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fake it in post-production. This is where a light meter really helps out to make sure you don't get that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I think with the size of screen we have, I like these guys a little bit better than the full body. Yeah, because we don't have, and also because we don't have, yeah, the bodysuit sort of ruins the,
Yeah.
it breaks the flow of the, almost, it looks almost like smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bodysuit breaks that illusion. So, but that's YouTube. We got to do what we got to do.
So Mark, real quick, there's a nice discussion going on in the chat right now about where to position the light, and if there are, hard and fast rules or rules you can kind of break when it comes to positioning the light relative to the subject in order to get a desired result. So can you maybe break that down a little bit more?
Let me do this. I'm going to also see if I can fix the chat thing really fast, because I'd love to see what people are saying. So we've got that. We have to break it out, and we have to get the overlay clunk. Now you can, now it's working. So let's see if you can feed me some of these guys so we can see what people are saying. But no shadows. Yeah, okay. That helps me out. I'm going to grab this from you. In fact, can you put your sweater? Can you grab your sweater?
Yep.
We're going to do that, and your jeans. And let's talk about the position of light. And we will talk about some of the mistakes that we can make with that. And for this, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to my old school light because I have a little bit more of flexibility in the positioning of the light. Weird no shadows. What else do you have, Chris? Do you have any other positioning light comments? So I can see that from Susan. Yep. Yeah, so we can talk about that as well, the 3 to 9 o'clock in the eye. What else do we have? We have, maybe it's just Susan helping us out. That's good. I love this kind of participation. So Susan, you get bonus points for helping people in the chat. There we go. If your shadows go up, you're too low. Absolutely correct. That was a good concern. One of the things that you're going to find is with a hard light reflector, the height of the modifier and the light is a lot more apparent than with soft light. Because with soft light, you don't see the shadows as clearly as you do with a hard light reflector. And so what I was doing with putting that softbox up and down and getting away with it, I probably couldn't do that if I had a normal reflector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a normal reflector. So this is going to be hard light. Yay! Okay. We're going to be taking pictures of your nose. Okay. So what we're looking at here, in fact, can I move you forward? Mm-hmm. Move forward, move forward, move forward. Okay, right here. So what we're looking at is underneath the nose here, there's a shadow, and if the light is directly over, the shadow creates a shadow that looks like a butterfly. It's called butterfly lighting. If we move the light to one side, and so turn your head this way, yeah. Then I'm going to move you back a little bit. There you go. The broad side of the face here, if we illuminate that, that's called broad lighting, as in the broad side, not broad as in the old school, hey, broad. And if we illuminate this side of the face, that's the short side. That's called short lighting. So generally speaking, and people think this is because it's called broad light, women look better because broad lighting is a little bit softer, and men look more rugged with short lighting. And so when we talk about broad lighting, we're not talking about, hey, Brad, we're talking about the large part of the face, broad lighting. Okay, come on back. The other thing that we're going to look at is Rembrandt lighting with the light above. We get a little triangle of light here. If we have the light from the shadow touching the light from the cheek, that's called closed loop lighting. And if that shadow doesn't touch, that's called open loop lighting. So those are traditional lighting patterns and styles. And so let's see if we can show these on the face. So let's do this. I'm going to try to see if I can see this as well. With the video lights, it's very difficult for me to see what I'm getting. So I'm going to turn them off. I'm going to turn them off. And this is, we're almost to the end of the class. So this is our last little demo. So if you have questions, now is the time to ask. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start positioning the light and showing some things here. Okay. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I've got to change my transmitter. So Chris, if we have other questions, I am open for them while I get this set up. There we go.
So can you talk about what is holding your light meter on the stand?
Oh, who asked that question?
That is Susan. Susan is asking about the red light meter holder on the C-stand.
Do you guys want to buy one of these? Do you love this? Do you love it? Let me turn on the light here. Let me see. Tell me, I'm curious if, let me just show you this. Bam. So this little thing here, I've got several versions. It's a gravity bracket. Pop it on, there it goes. And then you can hold it on. I've got several times. This came from my brain. So I designed this in CAD and 3D printed it, and I'm still refining it. So this is pink because it's leftover filament that I didn't want to, it was stuff I had left over. So if you think you want one of those, let me know. I'm still dialing it in, but I think I'll put it up for sale for a couple bucks or put the 3D printing files out there. So yeah, so right now it's called Mark's Fancy 3D Printed Toy. That's what that is. But I think, like, I'm so annoyed at losing my light meter, I just designed my own holder. So that's what that is. Yeah. So let me know if you think you want to buy or give me a coffee for one of those. And if so, I will make it available. All right. Any other questions, Chris? No. Okay.
We're good. Let's push on.
Push on. So, was not anticipating promoting my own light meter holder thingy. Geniusness 11, F11. But isn't that nice? You just like stick it on there. Who doesn't want one of those? Everybody wants one. Everybody wants one. Okay, so we're going to put the camera in the same exact position every time. And then I don't want you to move. I want you to keep your face the same every time so we can see what the difference of the light is coming from the light itself. So this is about 45 degrees from the side, and it's just a tiny bit above her face. And so when we look at that, you can see that this is open loop lighting, because the shadow from the cheek and the shadow from the nose do not touch. The other thing is this light here is a little bit low for my taste. Generally, I want this shadow right here to be at the side of the nose or lower. So generally, I want this to be a little bit lower than that. So I'm going to raise this up a little bit. So we're going to raise it up. Reposition this. So light has been moved up the location to the side of the light is not changed. Bam. I got you closed-eyed, but it's okay. Now look how the shadow is going down compared to this. The shadow has moved down. And if I move the light to the side a little bit more, it's almost impossible for me to tell because it's so bright in here with all the video lights. But let me see if I got this. There we go. So this is called closed loop lighting or Rembrandt lighting. So you see how we just closed those shadows? So that was open, open. Now it's closed there. So that happened by moving the light. So what we did was we moved the light to the side, this way to the side. So that's defining if it's open or closed loop. And then the elevation up or down is showing how much of a shadow is falling. So I'm going to make this even higher. So this should be closed loop, but a little bit lower. Let's try it out. Yes. And so now you can see that we have closed loop. That shadow is coming down. We have a little bit more of a triangle as opposed to, and we can look also at the eyes. So these eyes are dead. Your eyes are dead because we have no catch light with the flash that high, as opposed to when the flash was very low. We had a very clear catch light. That catch light was round and very small because of the reflector that we had. We're going to do one more thing here. We're going to go down. So this is down. Bammo. So now this is campfire scary. And the thing is that the shadow now is above the nose. So that's a no-no, unless you want it to look like a campfire scary. That's no good. And our open loop is coming back. So that's not good. And then the other thing I'm going to do here is we're going to try butterfly light. We take the light, and again, I can't see what I'm doing in this very bright video studio. But if you look at Skycam, you can see that this light is on axis with our camera. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more. Tilt it down just a little bit more. Is that a sneeze? I see a sneeze. Almost?
Just almost.
Almost a sneeze.
Too many lights to make it happen though.
Okay, that's 13, F13. Okay. I'm going to try this and see if we got butterfly lighting. So yeah, that is butterfly lighting. There you go. So it's so high that we don't even have a shadow underneath her nose. But look at what we want to see is the catch light in her eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change from a small reflector to one of my favorite reflectors of all. This is a Magnum reflector, so it's much, much larger. So that will make the effective size of the light much larger. But it'll make it. Did you see me almost bite it?
Yeah.
I was almost down.
I had to do a trust fall.
I know. I almost trust falled right in. Blammo. Yeah. So bright. So that increased the output of our light, made it much. Yeah. Yeah. Let me try again here. Try again. It's so powerful that we can't even shoot this. Too powerful. Too powerful. Can you hold that for just a second? All right. One more time. So this is metering at F25, which is just way too much. Way too much. That's 22. I think that's the edge of my aperture value. Let's see if we can do it. F22. Shabam. Oh, I love that modifier. So even that, it's hard to see. This is before. The catch light doesn't really change much. But the shadows, look at the shadows in the cheeks and the background. Changes. Much better. Much different.
Mark, a couple
sir.
of things. Fern says, I need a light meter holder. It's genius. And Vic says the space is huge compared to what Vic's got. So
Yeah,
they're even smaller.
there are even smaller spaces for sure. And honestly, if we weren't shooting video in here, it wouldn't be so bad. But what you guys can't see is we have cameras and lights and cables, and so our working space it's like 1, 2, 3 steps. That's it. Yeah, it's very, 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 very confining. All right, so we have talked about the controlling our light. We talked about reflectors and grids. We didn't use any flags. We didn't need to, but you know they're there if you need them. We talked about the direction of light. We talked about taking our ambient light and eliminating that. And we talked about the differences between different light modifiers because it really matters and it works. You know, let's do one more, because we didn't do one of my favorite modifiers. And I think it would be a shame and I would cry if we didn't do it. So let's try this beauty dish instead of those other ones.
As you're setting up, Mark, Warrior of the Light says their studio is 9 foot by 12 foot. And Michael says 4 by 4 meter. Wow.
Yeah, so you know, all the stuff that we've done today in this studio will absolutely work in those studios because we have confined ourselves to that amount of space. And you'll notice, like, even though Allie was this is about 2 feet, about 2 feet from the background, something like that. So if you're in a 9-foot studio, I'll move this out of the way of that camera there. This is where it gets cramped. Then yeah, you would get the same results. So there's nothing that we've done today that you cannot do in those studios. And I think Kirsten Lutz, who's done a series on small studio setups, is working on another one. So if you guys have seen his stuff, that's going to be really cool. Okay, so we're using the beauty dish, and I'm going to try to get the beauty dish as low as possible. And yeah, you can see that how the distance is from that. I love my light holder thingy. I haven't lost my light meter one time today. Did you notice that, Chris? I usually lose it a million
You're
times.
onto something.
In fact, it was the last class we did. I'm like, I have to figure out something. So I promise, as soon as I figure out how to finish engineering it, I'll make it available to people. Okay, so it might be a little too low because I can't get underneath. But let's just try. Ooh, soft. So that, I just love a beauty dish. We have contrast top to bottom. And then notice that beauty dish is totally different catch light to it. It's a lot larger. It's got that unique shape. But look at what a beauty dish does to the cheeks. It does to this cheekbone right here and underneath. And look at how it makes that sweater so cozy. Yes. I love what a beauty dish does. There's no need to fill those shadows. Those shadows should be preserved and kept and let the contrast fly. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid of having some hard light. Okay, Chris, remind us once more where we get the class and all that kind of stuff.
All right, so gang, thank you so much for joining. If you want to get this class, it'll be live for a while, about 24 hours. But then maybe 48 hours or so from today, you will be able to purchase this particular class. Or if you want, you can get an annual subscription from CreativeLive, and all that information will be down below, so you can hit that link, share it with your friends, so on and so forth. I appreciate you guys. This has been a lot of fun, a lot of cool questions. If you want to run up a couple of more questions real quick before we wrap, do that, and I'll send them to Mark. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining.
Absolutely. So if you do have final questions, we have time for that. We have the flexibility of doing that. I just want to refresh your memory. So here's what we learned today. We learned that the makeup you wear matters. If you have metallic makeup with flashback, or if you have the dewy look, it's going to be more specular than if you have a matte
finish.
base.
Yeah.
Hiring a makeup artist or having a model that knows how to do their makeup, that's very, very good. We learned that in a small studio, one of the key things to do is to eliminate all the ambient light. That is essential. How do you eliminate the ambient light? Number one, you decrease your ISO till you get it as low as you can. So your base ISO on your camera is usually 100 or 200. Take it all the way down. Number two, take your shutter speed and make it as fast as sync speed allows. So in my camera, it was 200th of a second. So that's pretty much standard in most cameras, around 2 to 250th of a second. And then number three, you have to make sure that your aperture is small enough to eliminate anything that's around. So that's generally around f8 and above, depending on your place. I have a cave. So if I turn off the video lights, I could probably be shooting all the way down to 2.8 in this studio. But because of our video lights, we couldn't do that today. So we want to do that. So we have low ISO, fast shutter speed, and then a closed aperture. That's going to eliminate all the ambient light. And then number two, we want to control all of our light and make sure that we put it where we want. And more importantly, don't put it where we don't want. We want to miss. And so we do that with using a proper light modifier, depending on how you want to shape the light. Use grids, use subtraction panels, use, all of the flags. That's the other thing I was going to say. Those types of things, and even a dark background. Sometimes you use a black background instead of a dark gray. That will help you out. And then the third thing that we learned was that the position of light matters a lot. And so where you put your light in relationship to your camera is going to shape that light in relationship to the contrast that you get. What you want to avoid if you want to have nice high contrast is front light. You want your light to be at the side or a little bit to the front. We also learned that you can do some tricks with a large softbox by flipping it horizontal, and we can move your subject in different places, and you can get some really cool looks. We also learned that you can get soft contrasty light using these same tricks. And so contrast isn't just for hard light. You can get contrast for hard and soft light. And we also learned that there's a groovy holder for light meters coming on the market soon. That's really cool.
We also learned how to shoot with two people instead of just
Oh,
one.
that's right. We learned how to shoot with two people. Clearly a skill that's not one of my strengths, because it looks very much like a Kmart shot. But we did it. We did it. We did it. And no, if you're a Kmart photographer, are there still Kmart photographers?
No,
If you are or were, I'm insulting you unintentionally, because a lot of those photographers are really good. They have prescriptions of how they have to shoot. Okay, Chris, are there any other questions? And if not, I'll give my final thoughts.
Looks like we're good. Just a lot of positive feedback. Great class from Mark. Shadows and shape and dimension to the face. It's been a lively chat. But apologies for not being able to pop up people's comments. I had the ability coming in and out, and Mark had to rescue me a couple times.
The beauty of live. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Jason, back there, for popping in. Chris, you've been a fantastic host, and I hope to see you in the next Creative Live. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time. Okay, and the other thing, I forgot to tell Chris how to end the live stream. So Chris, on the top right, this is going to be chopped
X
out.
button.
Put the camera on yourself, and I'll zip over here. Allie, come over. Let's do this.